He helped a lost traveler repair her ship. At dawn she vanished, but his name stayed among the stars. The proximity alarm shrieked at 200 hours, jerking Gary Merrick from sleep. He grabbed the plasma pistol mounted by his cot and moved to the viewport. Through scratched plexiglass, he watched a vessel plummet through the atmospheric shield, trailing fire. It hit the landing bay hard enough to rattle his teeth. 3 years on this dead mining outpost, and nothing had ever triggered those sensors. Gary pulled on his jacket and ran. The ship was still glowing when he reached the bay, heat shimmering off alien hull plating etched with geometric patterns that pulsed faintly. The hatch opened with a pneumatic hiss. She emerged through the steam like a walking dream. Green skin, purple hair falling past her shoulders, pointed ears, her armor-left arms and midriff exposed, revealing toned muscle and a bleeding gash along her ribs, golden eyes with vertical pupils locked onto his face. She took 3 steps before her legs gave out. Gary caught her, pistol clattering away. Her skin burned hot against his hands, pulse racing at her throat. 6 hours to repair my paradox drive or we're both dead, she said, accent unfamiliar but words clear. What's a paradox drive? The technology that brought me here. The technology that will bring them. She pushed upright despite the wound. I need tools, someone who understands quantum mechanics, and I need to be gone before dawn. Gary checked his chronometer, 5 hours, 47 minutes until sunrise. You're bleeding. I'm aware. Can you walk? She nodded, jaw tight. Then show me what needs fixing. The ship's interior was narrow corridors lined with panels that pulsed softly, responding to bioelectric fields. They entered the engineering section, and Gary stopped dead. The paradox drive hung suspended in a cylinder, a sphere of interlocking rings rotating on multiple axes. Each ring glowed different colors, amber, violet, deep blue. Crystalline matrices studded the surfaces, some cracked and dark. Half the power cables sparked with exposed wiring. Jesus, he breathed. Your religious figures won't help. She moved to a console, pulling up holographic diagnostics. 3 quantum locks shattered, dimensional stabilizers offline, power distribution compromised. Temporal buffer has a microfracture that cascades to total failure in 5 hours, 32 minutes. You said 6. I was optimistic. She rotated a schematic showing damaged components in red. I handle the quantum locks. You repair stabilizers and reroute power. Do you have arc welding equipment? Quantum-shielded cabling? Gary studied the schematic, mind already working. Military engineering plus 3 years salvage work meant he could fix almost anything. I have 15 tons of abandoned mining equipment and no regulations. Give me specifications. Something shifted in her expression. Hope, maybe. You're helping me. You crashed in my bay. That makes it my problem. You could sell this ship for a fortune. Gary met her golden eyes and saw his own reflection, a man who'd chosen exile over following orders that made him a monster. I stopped caring about fortunes when I came here. Now show me what needs fixing. Her hand found his wrist, fingers cool despite her fever. The touch lasted only seconds, but he felt the tremor in her grip. My name is Sivara. Gary Merrick. She smiled, brief and devastating. Try not to die, Gary Merrick. I've had enough death for one lifetime. Before he could ask what she meant, she was already pulling up technical specifications, rattling off requirements in technical jargon that bordered on incomprehensible. He listened, calculating load distributions, hands already itching for tools. Gary hauled equipment from the mining storage, quantum-rated power cables, magnetic containment units, industrial arc welders. When he returned, Sivara had shed more armor. She wore only a sleeveless top now, green skin gleaming with sweat as she worked. She looked up, her gaze traveling over his face, shoulders, the equipment. Something flickered in her expression before focus returned. Will it work? Let's find out. They fell into rhythm. She worked inside the drive chamber while he handled external systems, their movements synchronized through constant communication. Her hands were steady despite injury, fingers precise on delicate components. Higher, she called. Stabilizer mount needs exactly 43 centimeters from the chamber wall. Gary adjusted the bracket, watching his scanner. There. Lock it down. The stabilizer hummed to life, 1 down, 3 to go. What are you running from? He asked, moving to the next mounting point. Her silence stretched. When she spoke, her voice was carefully neutral. People who want to control reality. People who would rewrite timelines until only their version exists. People who've already destroyed 7 parallel universes, perfecting their methods. Parallel universes. His hands paused. You're serious? The paradox drive doesn't move through space. It moves through quantum probability states, alternate realities where different choices were made. I'm from a timeline where the wrong people discovered dimensional travel first. He looked at her through the transparent chamber wall. She met his gaze without flinching. And you're running where? Anywhere, nowhere. The point is keeping this drive out of their hands until I find others like me. Build a resistance. That's a lot of weight for one person. I'm aware. Gary secured the second stabilizer and moved to the third. His shoulder brushed hers in the cramped space. Contact sent electricity through him. Her skin warm, scent like copper, and something unfamiliar but intoxicating. You should let me treat that wound. After. You'll pass out from blood loss. I'll be dead if we don't finish, so the point is academic. But she shifted, giving him better access. The movement pressed them closer. He felt her breathing, ribs rising and falling against his arm, tremor in her muscles from holding steady despite exhaustion and pain. Third stabilizer set, he announced, pulling back. 1 more, then we reroute power. We're ahead of schedule. She checked readouts, relief crossing her face. 4 hours, 18 minutes remaining. The outpost's external sensors shrieked. Gary's blood went cold. He knew that alarm. Incoming ships, multiple signatures, high-velocity approach. Sivara's face drained of color until her green skin looked like pale jade. No. Gary pulled up the sensor feed. 3 vessels, maybe 4, signatures phasing in and out of normal space. They dropped from faster than light at the system's edge, burning hard toward the outpost. How long? Sivara demanded. He calculated. 53 minutes. She sagged against the chamber wall, looking utterly defeated, then straightened, jaw set. We can't finish in time, not even close. Then we buy more time. Gary headed for the corridor. Finish the quantum locks. I'll handle stabilizers and power routing. When they arrive, we make them regret it. He stopped. You came here because you had no choice, he said. I had choices. Could have stayed military, could have followed orders that made me a monster. I chose this isolation because some things matter more than easy lives. You're trying to stop people who'd enslave infinite realities. That matters. I'm going to help you finish repairs and survive long enough to escape. Sivara stared, something raw flickering across her features. In 7 other timelines, she said quietly, I met Gary Merrick. In every one, he helped without hesitation. In every one, he died doing it. The words hit like a physical blow. You've met me before. Versions of you, other circumstances, but fundamentally the same man, same choice. Her hands clenched. I came to this timeline specifically to avoid this outpost, to break the pattern, to not watch you die again, but the drive failed, and here we are, and history's repeating. She cut herself off, breathing hard. Gary crossed to her in 3 strides. He took her face in his hands, feeling her warmth, her sharp intake of breath. I don't know what happened in those timelines, he said, but in this one, we do better. Finish the quantum locks. I'll handle everything else. When those ships arrive, we'll be ready. Her eyes searched his face. Why? You don't know me, don't owe me anything. Because you need help and I can give it. His thumbs brushed her cheekbones, her pupils dilated. And because in 50 minutes, unpleasant people will try killing us both, and I'm not ready to die today. She laughed, sharp and edged with hysteria. You're insane. Probably. Then she kissed him. Brief and fierce, tasting like desperation. Her hands fisted in his jacket, pulling him closer for a heartbeat before pushing him away. Go, we have work to do. Gary went, heart-hammering. Behind him, Sivara returned to the quantum locks, muttered curses mixing with the drive's hum. He sealed bay doors and activated the defense grid. Railgun emplacements powered up with grinding protest. Shield generators cycled online, throwing energy shimmer across the bay entrance. Not enough to stop a determined assault, but enough to slow them. Gary threw himself into work. Fourth stabilizer, power routing in configurations manufacturers would call insane. Temporal buffer repair in spaces barely wide enough for his shoulders, hands working blind while Sivara called instructions. 30 minutes. 20. 10. Last connection, Gary called, voice strained from the awkward angle. Make it, then get clear fast. He fused the final junction and rolled clear as the paradox drive activated fully. The sphere spun up, rings moving independently in hypnotic patterns. Light spilled from crystalline matrices, painting the bay in shifting colors. Air thickened, pressing against Gary's skin. Sivara stood at the console, hands flying across the interface. Power readings spiked and stabilized, quantum locks engaged and held. The impossible machine achieved equilibrium. "It's working," she breathed. The outpost shuddered. Railguns opened fire. Through the hull, Gary heard hypersonic projectiles screaming through vacuum. The defense grid engaged targets. They were out of time. He looked at Sivara, her face illuminated by the drive's light. "The drive needs 3 minutes to charge for dimensional jump," she said. "Can you buy me 3 minutes?" Gary pulled the plasma pistol and checked the charge. Full power. "I can buy you 5. He moved toward the hatch, but her hand caught his wrist. He turned. She was close enough that he saw flecks of darker green in her irises, pulse hammering at her throat. "Don't die, please, not this time." "That's the plan." Then he was running, through corridor, through hatch, down the ramp. The defense grid tracked targets through the atmospheric shield. Sleek attack craft phased in and out of normal space, built for killing. The shield flickered under sustained fire. Gary dove behind a support pillar as the first craft breached the barrier, weapons tracking toward him. The battle had begun. Plasma fire missed Gary's head by centimeters. He rolled behind the support pillar and returned fire, forcing the attack craft to break off. 2 more craft breached the failing shield, 3 against 1. Gary sprinted toward his weapons cache. Plasma chewed up deck plating behind him. He hit the locker, punched the code, military-grade pulse rifle, electromagnetic grenades, tactical vest with kinetic dispersion field. He armed himself fast, hands remembering training he'd tried to forget. The shield generator exploded. All 3 craft poured through. Gary opened fire. The pulse rifle kicked hard, hypervelocity rounds tearing into 1 craft. It spiraled away, trailing smoke. The other 2 split up, flanking. Professional killers. "Sivara, how's that charge coming?" he shouted into comm. 2 minutes 40 seconds, I can't go faster. "Make it 2. Gary threw an electromagnetic grenade. It detonated in blue-white energy, sending 1 ship tumbling. The pilot recovered and returned fire with aggression. Something hit Gary's chest. The dispersion field absorbed most impact, but he still slammed backward into a cargo container. Ribs cracked, pain flared white-hot. He gasped for air. The craft moved in for the kill. Then Sivara was there. She came down the ramp at a dead run, alien sidearm blazing. Her shots were surgical, forcing the craft to evade. She moved like violence given form, injury forgotten. The craft broke off to engage her. Gary used the distraction. He lined up the shot, accounting for the phase pattern, and squeezed. The round caught at center mass. The craft dropped. 2 down, 1 to go. The last attacker circled, reassessing. Gary pushed upright, each breath a knife in his side. Sivara reached him, pressing her back against his, her heat soaked through his vest. "You were supposed to stay with the drive," he said. "You were supposed to buy me 3 minutes, not get killed in 1. Fair point." The last craft came in fast. Gary saw the pattern now, understood the phase cycle rhythm. He waited, counting heartbeats, and fired when it solidified. The shot clipped its thruster. It slammed into the bay wall in a spray of debris and flame. Silence fell. Sivara turned to face him, relief and fury mixing in her expression. "Cracked ribs," she said. "Maybe. You're bleeding." Blood seeped from a gash on his forearm. "So are you," he said. Her wound had reopened. "We're a pair?" Their eyes locked. Something electric passed between them, born of combat and survival. Her hand found his chest, palm flat over his heart. "That was incredibly stupid," she said. Probably. If you'd died, I didn't. She leaned into him, forehead against his collarbone. Her shoulders shook. The drive's charged, she whispered. I can leave, should leave right now, but I... Gary tilted her chin up. Her golden eyes were wet. But, he prompted, but I don't want to watch you die again. In other timelines, this is where it goes wrong. Where you make sure I escape while you... She stopped, swallowing. I can't do that again, Gary. I can't leave you here alone. You don't have a choice. That drive is more important than both of us. Infinite realities at stake. I know, her hands fisted in his vest. But knowing and accepting are different things. Every timeline I lose you anyway. Do you have any idea what that's like? Meeting someone who always helps and watching them die for it over and over? Gary cupped her face, thumbs brushing away glowing tears. Then let's break the pattern, he said. You jump to safety. I take an escape pod. We both survive. There are no escape pods. Companies stripped them years ago. Then I use one of those attack craft. They're coded to their pilots' biosignatures. You'd never get one started before reinforcements arrive. She pulled back, thinking. Unless what? The neural interface. If we establish it again deeper, I can imprint my biosignature onto you, make the ships think you're me, long enough to escape. How deep is deeper? Full synchronization, complete mental connection, no barriers, everything I am, everything you are, shared. She met his eyes. It's intimate, Gary. More than physical contact. You'll feel what I feel, see what I've seen. Including the other timelines where I died. Yes. The thought of connecting with her that completely pulled at something deep in his chest. How long does it take? Minutes. Maybe less if we're compatible. And are we? Her smile was sad. In every timeline, we're extraordinarily compatible. That's why this hurts so much. Explosions bloomed in the upper atmosphere, more ships dropping from faster than light. Lots more. They were out of time. Show me, Gary said. Sivara grabbed his hand and pulled him toward her ship. They ran up the ramp to the drive chamber. The paradox drive spun at full power, filling the space with prismatic light. She pulled 2 neural interface crowns from storage. Circlets of dark metal studded with crystalline contact points. Put this on, she said, placing one on her own head. The crystals flared to life. Gary settled the crown on his temples. The crystals were cold, then warm, then hot. Sivara's hands found his, fingers interlacing. Look at me, she said. Don't look away, no matter what you see. He locked eyes with her. The world exploded into sensation. Emotions bled across the link. Her fear, her hope, her exhaustion from running across realities. Then it became a flood. Memories crashed into him. 7 different versions of Gary Merrick, 7 different deaths. Shot while covering her escape, crushed when the outpost collapsed, atomized in feedback. Each death played out in perfect clarity, and he felt her grief like a physical blow. But there was more. Her childhood on a world with lavender skies, her training as a dimensional pilot, the moment her timeline fell to the temporal empire, the resistance forming from survivors, stealing the paradox drive and running across the multiverse. And woven through everything, him. Different versions, different choices, but always the same core, always helping without hesitation, always choosing compassion, always dying to give her a chance. Gary gasped. His own memories flooded back, military service, the mission that broke him, his exile, everything he'd buried, laid bare. Sivara squeezed his hands. I see you, she whispered. All of you. The hero and the broken man, the soldier and the exile. I understand why you help. You're trying to make up for the people you couldn't save. Stop, he said, but the word had no force. You think you're running by hiding here, but you're really waiting for permission to be who you always were. Someone worth helping, a cause worth dying for. I said stop. I can't. Her voice cracked. Because I'm falling for you, and I've fallen for you in 7 other timelines, and each time hurts worse because I know how it ends. The neural link pulsed, reaching critical synchronization. Gary felt his biosignature shifting, quantum patterns from Sivara imprinting onto him. It worked. But something else happened too. Their minds merged at the edges, thoughts bleeding together until he couldn't tell where his ended and hers began. He felt her desire for safety, for rest, for him, as vividly as his own, felt her love growing across multiple timelines. And she felt his response, his growing attachment, his willingness to die if it meant she lived. "No," Sivara said sharply. "Gary, you can't just decide to die for me again. That's not breaking the pattern, that's repeating it." "Then what do you want?" "I want you to live." Her hands trembled. "I want us both to survive, where I don't have to choose between saving timelines and saving you, where for once, fate doesn't force me to leave you behind." The outpost shook as the new wave began their assault. Time was up. Gary pulled Sivara against him, ignoring his cracked ribs, feeling her heart race in perfect sync with his through the neural link. He kissed her, deep and desperate, and felt her kiss him back with 7 timelines of longing behind it. When they broke apart, his decision was made. "Then we find that way," he said, "together, starting now." Her eyes widened. "What are you—" He reached past her and activated her ship's engines. The drive spun faster, building power for dimensional jump. But he'd changed the settings. 1 passenger, 1 destination, and a timer. Sivara's eyes went wide as she processed what Gary had done. The paradox drive's hum climbed in pitch. "Gary, what did you—" He caught her wrist. "I changed the destination. Not to another timeline, to another location in this one, somewhere safe, and I set the drive to return here in 90 seconds. Empty. That gives me time to use one of the crashed attack craft. Then we both leave together." She stared at him. "That's insane. The drive takes 3 minutes to charge between jumps. You'll be stranded for at least 2 minutes. Those ships will tear you apart." "Not if I'm flying one of theirs with your biosignature. They'll hesitate. That buys me time." The neural link still connected them, and through it he felt her emotions warring. Fear for him, admiration, frustration, and underneath it all something neither had named but both recognized. "You're doing it again," she said quietly, "taking all the risk." "No, splitting the risk. You get to safety, regroup, come back for me, we both survive. That's breaking the pattern." The drive's pitch reached critical, 10 seconds. Sivara grabbed his face, kissing him with desperate intensity. He felt her fear bleed through the link, tasted it. When she pulled back, tears tracked down her green cheeks. "If you're not here when I get back, I will be. 5 seconds? I'm falling in love with you," she said, "across 8 timelines now. And I need you to understand that if this goes wrong, I don't know if I can keep doing this." Gary pressed his forehead to hers. "Then don't watch me die, watch me live." The paradox drive flashed white, reality folded, Sivara vanished. The bay fell silent except for alarms and distant explosions. Gary stood alone, the neural crown warm on his temples. He could feel Sivara through the link. Faint but present. She was safe. Now he had 90 seconds to survive. Gary ran to the nearest crashed attack craft, the one with the damaged thruster but intact cockpit. He climbed in. Alien controls glowed softly. He pressed his hand against the ignition panel. Nothing happened. The biosignature imprint should work, should fool the security. But the system wasn't responding. Gary forced himself to breathe. The neural link was still active, humming in his mind. Maybe he needed to strengthen it. Use it deliberately. He closed his eyes and reached through the link, pulling on that thread of quantum entanglement. Felt his biosignature shift, his cells vibrating in harmony with Sivara's pattern. The sensation was deeply strange. The control panel flared to life. Systems came online. Gary ran diagnostics, weapons operational, shields 60%, thrusters starboard damaged, but others working, life support green. It would do. He lifted off as the first reinforcement wave entered the bay. 5 craft, tight formation, professional military formation, temporal empire regulars. Gary activated weapons and opened fire. The craft responded sluggishly, but he'd flown worse. His first volley caught the lead ship by surprise. The formation scattered. Through the neural link, he felt Sivara's alarm spike. Her voice echoed in his head, not through comm, but through the quantum connection. "Gary, what's happening?" "Slight complication," he thought back, banking hard. "More ships than expected. I'm handling it." "You're in combat. Borrowing one of their ships, I'll return it in terrible condition." He felt her terror, her helplessness, felt her mind working, calculating. "The drive needs another 60 seconds to recharge," she sent. "Can you last?" "I can last 60. The Imperial ships identified him as hostile, despite the biosignature confusion. They coordinated 2 breaking high while 3 came low. Gary dove, using the bay's superstructure for cover. Plasma fire melted support beams. 40 seconds until the paradox drive returned. 1 Imperial ship got a clean shot. Gary's shields dropped to 30%. Another hit like that and he'd be flying on hull integrity alone. He needed to change the equation. Gary armed the electromagnetic grenades. This craft carried 3 and plotted a trajectory. He flew straight at the tightest cluster of ships. They took the bait, closing in. At the last second, he released all 3 grenades and rolled hard. The detonation was spectacular. Blue-white energy cascaded across 2 Imperial ships. They tumbled away dead. The remaining 3 pulled back. 20 seconds until the drive returned. Through the neural link, Gary felt Sivara's presence grow stronger. She was coming back. The Imperial ships sensed they were running out of time. All 3 accelerated in a kamikaze charge. Gary couldn't outrun them, couldn't outfight them. But he just needed 15 more seconds. 10. Plasma fire shredded his starboard wing. The craft lurched, warning klaxons screamed, shield failure, hull breach, engine 1 offline. 5. Gary pointed the dying craft at the bay's far wall and accelerated. The Imperial ships followed, weapons blazing. His console lit up with critical failures. Reality tore open behind him. Sivara's ship materialized in impossible light, the paradox drive spinning. The ramp was already lowering. "Now!" Sivara screamed through both comm and neural link. Gary punched the ejection release. The canopy blew away and the seat rocketed out. Behind him, his borrowed craft slammed into the wall and exploded, engulfing 1 pursuing Imperial ship. Gary sailed through vacuum toward Sivara's ship. The ejection seat's momentum carried him up the ramp even as she triggered the jump sequence. He hit the deck hard, rolling. The ramp sealed, the drive shrieked. The remaining Imperial ships fired everything. Reality folded. Gary lay gasping, his body a mass of bruises and cracked ribs. Through the neural link, he felt Sivara's overwhelming relief crash over him. Then she was there, dropping beside him, hands running over his face and chest. "You're alive," she breathed. "Told you I would be." She kissed him hard enough to hurt his split lip. He didn't care. He kissed her back, tasting salt and relief. The neural link pulsed between them, amplifying every sensation until he couldn't tell where his gratitude ended and hers began. When they broke apart, Sivara pressed her forehead to his. "Don't ever do that again." "Can't promise that." "Then promise you'll warn me first." "Deal." She helped him sit up. Everything was intact. They were away, safe, together. The pattern was broken. "Where are we?" he asked. "Dimensional dead space. A fold between realities where nothing can track us. We have maybe an hour before we need to move again." Her expression shifted. "Gary, there's something I need to tell you. Something I saw while we were connected." "What?" She pulled up a holographic display. It showed a star map overlaid with quantum probability matrices and dimensional coordinates. And written across it, in repeating patterns growing stronger with each iteration, was his quantum signature. "When you absorbed the paradox drive's feedback to save me, when you channeled it through your biosignature, you didn't just create a temporary marker," she said quietly. "You permanently encoded yourself into this timeline's quantum fabric. Your name, your pattern, is woven into the background radiation of every star system within 100 parsecs. And it's spreading." Gary stared at the display, watching his signature propagate outward in cascading waves. "What does that mean?" Sivara's golden eyes met his. "It means you just proved the existence of parallel realities to anyone with a quantum telescope. It means the resistance has the evidence they need to expose the temporal empire. It means you're about to become the most famous man in multiple timelines." She paused. "And it means the empire will hunt you with everything they have, because you're living proof of what they're trying to hide." The weight of that settled over Gary. His choice to help a stranded traveler had just reshaped the political landscape of multiple realities. "So much for a quiet retirement," he said. Sivara laughed, the sound edged with hysteria and relief. You're taking this remarkably well. I stopped having a normal life the moment you crashed in my landing bay. He caught her hand, twining their fingers together. The question is, what do we do now? She looked at him, at their joined hands, at the quantum signature spreading across the star map. Now we find the resistance. Now we turn your quantum signature into a weapon against the Empire. Now we make sure those 7 other timelines where you died weren't in vain. She squeezed his hand. Now we fight back. Together. Together, he agreed. Dawn was breaking somewhere across the multiverse, and with his name spreading across the stars and her hand in his, Gary Merrick stopped running from who he'd been and started becoming who he needed to be. Sivara helped Gary to the med bay. The neural link hummed between their minds, intimate, unbreakable. She ran a scanner over his ribs, 3 cracked, 1 fractured. The device deployed nano-repair agents. Gary hissed as coldness spread through his chest. You need rest, Sivara said. We don't have time. You said the Empire will hunt me. They will, but not for another hour. Right now we're hidden in dimensional dead space. She finished treating his arm. Gary, you need to understand what you've done. Your quantum signature isn't just evidence. It's a beacon. Anyone with the right equipment can track it back to you. So I'm a walking target. You're a walking revolution. She pulled up a holographic display. This is quantum telescope feed from 3 observatories. All detected your signature. Scientists are already theorizing. Within hours, it'll be public knowledge. Gary studied the data. Messages flying between institutions, emergency conferences, government agencies scrambling. And the resistance? Already reaching out. Sivara tapped the console. A new message appeared, encrypted, routed through dimensional barriers. Talia Wren, one of their operatives, she wants to meet. Could be a trap. Could be our only chance. Sivara's hand found his. The Empire knows about you. They'll send everything. We can't run forever, not with your signature broadcasting. We need allies. Through the neural link, Gary felt her fear and determination tangled together. Felt her exhaustion, and underneath, that growing feeling too strong to ignore. He pulled her close, ignoring his ribs. Then we meet her, but on our terms, neutral ground, and you're ready to jump at the first sign of trouble. Sivara leaned into him. When did you become the tactical one? About the time I stole an Imperial ship and flew it into a wall. She laughed, then her expression turned serious. Gary, there's something else. The neural link, it's not fading. It should have weakened, but it's getting stronger. When you channeled the drive's feedback, it permanently entangled us, quantum level. We're connected now in ways I've never seen. He felt it too, could sense her heartbeat as his own, could taste emotions she tried to suppress, could feel her body's heat without touching. Is that dangerous? I don't know, maybe. She traced a finger along his jaw and he felt the touch amplified through the link. But I'm not sorry it happened. Neither am I. They stood in the med bay's soft lighting, the drive humming, quantum dead space cocooning them. Gary kissed her slowly this time, not with desperation but certainty. Felt her respond, felt the neural link flare until sensation became overwhelming. She broke away, breathing hard. We should prepare for the meeting. We should. Neither moved. I know. But he kissed her again anyway, and she pulled him closer despite his injuries. The neural link pulsed with each heartbeat, carrying sensation back and forth until neither could tell where their own pleasure ended and the other's began. When they separated, Sivara's eyes were bright. Later, she promised, when we're not being hunted. I'm holding you to that. She smiled, fierce and beautiful. Good. They prepared with professional efficiency, the charged moment tucked away but not forgotten. Sivara set coordinates for a dead space station orbiting a neutron star, abandoned, radioactive, perfect for a clandestine rendezvous. Gary checked weapons. The jump was smooth. They materialized in a system that screamed violence. The neutron star pulsed with lethal radiation. The space station was a skeletal ruin. Cheerful place, Gary muttered. That's the point. They docked and moved through the station with weapons ready. The corridors were dark except for flickering emergency lighting. Radiation alarms chirped constant warnings. They found Talia Wren in the command center. She was tall, angular, her skin covered in tattoos that glowed faintly, quantum markers. She wore combat armor that had seen serious use. When she turned, her eyes were calculating. "So you're the man whose name is written in the stars," Talia said. "Impressive, reckless, exactly what the Resistance needs." "We're here to talk," Gary said, "not sign up." "You signed up when you helped her." Talia gestured at Sivara. "The Empire has put a bounty on you that would buy a planet. Every hunter in 3 timelines is mobilizing. You think talking will change that?" "He saved my life," Sivara said, "multiple times. Show respect." Talia smiled without warmth. "I respect anyone crazy enough to encode their biosignature into quantum fabric and survive. But respect doesn't change facts. The Empire will come for you. The only question is whether you die running or fighting." Gary felt Sivara's anger through the link, but he forced himself to think tactically. "What does the Resistance want from us?" "Your quantum signature. Specifically, we want to amplify it." Talia pulled up a schematic. "The Resistance has a quantum amplifier. Experimental tech we stole from the Empire. It can take your existing signature and boost it exponentially. Make it visible across every timeline simultaneously. Undeniable proof. The Empire's lies would collapse overnight." "And kill Gary in the process," Sivara said flatly. "That kind of amplification would tear his quantum entanglement apart. He'd be scattered across dimensional barriers." "Maybe, probably, but the Resistance would win." Talia met Gary's eyes. "Your call, die a hero who changed the multiverse, or die running while the Empire crushes every timeline." Through the neural link, Gary felt Sivara's immediate rejection, felt her preparing to grab him and jump away. But he also felt something else. The weight of those 7 other timelines where he'd died, the memory of his military service, the mission that broke him, the people he couldn't save, the certainty that some things were worth dying for. "There has to be another way," he said, "a way where I survive and the Resistance gets what it needs." "There isn't," Talia said. "I've run every scenario the amplification required." "What if we synchronized it with the paradox drive?" Sivara interrupted, her mind racing. Gary felt her calculations through the link. "Use the drive's dimensional framework as a buffer. Gary channels the signature through it. The drive absorbs the lethal feedback, and we scatter the amplified signal without killing him." Frowned. "The drive would be destroyed. The drive can be rebuilt, Gary can't. And you'd be stranded, no way to jump between timelines. We'd be alive." Sivara's hand found Gary's. "Together, that's worth more than any technology." Gary felt her determination through the link, felt her love, finally acknowledged, finally named, burning bright. He squeezed her hand. "How do we do this?" he asked. Talia studied them, then she nodded. "There's a quantum amplifier network in the Kessler system. 3 days from here. The Empire doesn't know we have it yet, but they will soon. If you're serious, we move fast." "We're serious," Gary said. "Then we have a plan." Talia's expression softened slightly. "For what it's worth, if this works, you'll have saved more lives than you can imagine. Every timeline under Imperial control. Your name really will be written across the stars." "I just want to survive long enough to enjoy it." They left the station and jumped to rendezvous coordinates where Resistance ships waited. 3 days to reach the amplifier. 3 days while the Empire mobilized. 3 days to prepare for a gambit that would either free the multiverse or kill them both. Sivara set the course and engaged the drive. Gary stood beside her as reality folded, his hand in hers, the neural link carrying constant emotion between their minds. "Are you scared?" she asked quietly. "Terrified." "Me too." Through the viewport, stars streaked past in impossible colors. Somewhere ahead lay the amplifier, somewhere behind the Empire hunted them, and somewhere in quantum foam itself, Gary's signature was spreading. He pulled Sivara close, felt her heartbeat sync with his through the link. "Whatever happens," he said, "I'm glad you crashed in my landing bay." She looked up at him, golden eyes bright. "So am I." And as the ship jumped toward its destination, toward the final confrontation that would decide the fate of infinite timelines, they stood together in the certainty that some bonds transcended death itself. The Kessler system burned with conflict when they arrived. Imperial warships had found the amplifier first, dozens of them surrounding the resistance station in a blockade that meant no escape. Gary's tactical mind cataloged the threat automatically: cruisers, destroyers, fighter wings, enough firepower to glass a continent. "We're outnumbered," he said. "We're always outnumbered." Sivara's hands flew across the controls. "But we have something they don't." "What's that?" "Desperation and a really good engineer." Through the neural link, Gary felt her fear wrapped in determination, felt her love for him burning bright enough to eclipse the terror of what they were about to attempt. The Resistance fleet engaged the Imperials, buying them time. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes. The station's shields flickered under sustained bombardment. Sivara threaded through the chaos with precision that bordered on prescient, her enhanced reflexes and their shared tactical awareness making them nearly untouchable. They docked hard. The station shuddered from weapons fire. Gary and Sivara ran through corridors filled with resistance fighters preparing for the final stand. No one tried to stop them. Word had spread. The man with the quantum signature had arrived. The amplifier chamber was massive, built around a central sphere of interlocking energy matrices that reminded Gary of Sivara's paradox drive. Talia Wren stood at the main console, blood on her armor, directing the defense. "You made it," she said. "We weren't sure you would." "Neither were we." Gary looked at the amplifier. "How does this work?" "You stand in the center. I activate the amplification field. Your quantum signature gets boosted and broadcast across every known timeline simultaneously." Talia paused. "And then either Sivara's plan works or you die." Sivara grabbed his arm, pulling him around to face her. "Gary, we can still leave, jump away, find another solution." "There is no other solution. You know that." "I know," her voice cracked, "but knowing and accepting are different things." Through the neural link, he felt everything she couldn't say. 8 timelines of watching him die, 8 timelines of grief, and now facing the possibility of a 9th, her control was fracturing. Gary cupped her face. "This time is different. This time I have you as a partner, not just someone I'm protecting. This time we planned it together. This time we both walk away." "Promise me." "I promise." He kissed her, deep and certain, pouring everything he felt through the neural link, love and fear and desperate hope. She kissed back with the same intensity, her hands fisting in his jacket. When they broke apart, Talia was pointedly looking away. "Whenever you're ready," she said dryly. Gary stepped into the amplifier's center. The energy matrices hummed around him, responding to his quantum signature. Sivara moved to the paradox drive interface they'd rigged to the amplifier, a jury-rigged connection that looked held together by hope and wire. "On your mark," Talia said, hands hovering over the activation controls. The station rocked from another impact. Hull breach alarms screamed they were out of time. "Do it," Gary said. Talia activated the amplifier. Pain erupted through every nerve. Gary felt his quantum signature being pulled, stretched, amplified beyond anything natural. His cells vibrated at frequencies that shouldn't exist. Through the neural link, he felt Sivara's scream as she experienced his agony secondhand. But she didn't stop working. Her hands flew across the paradox drive controls, synchronizing its dimensional framework with the amplifier's output, creating a buffer, a channel for the lethal feedback. Gary's vision fractured. He saw multiple timelines overlapping, versions of this moment playing out differently. In one, he collapsed dead. In another, Sivara's drive exploded. In a third, the Imperial fleet destroyed the station before they could finish. But in this timeline, they held on. The paradox drive shrieked as it absorbed feedback that should have scattered Gary across dimensional barriers. The crystalline matrices in its rings shattered one by one, unable to withstand the load. But it bought seconds. Precious seconds. Gary's quantum signature amplified exponentially, broadcasting across every reality simultaneously. Proof undeniable, evidence irrefutable, the Empire's lies exposed in a single moment of truth. Through the neural link, fragmented and distorted by the amplification, Gary felt Sivara's love anchoring him, keeping him tethered to this reality when quantum forces tried to tear him apart. He held on to that feeling, used it as a lifeline. The amplifier reached critical mass. The paradox drive's last matrix exploded in a cascade of light. The feedback redirected, harmless, dispersing into dimensional static. Gary collapsed. Silence fell, broken only by alarms and distant explosions. Gary lay on the deck, every muscle trembling, his quantum signature still resonating in the air around him. But he was alive, intact, whole. Sivara was there in an instant, pulling him into her arms. Through the neural link, weakened but still present, he felt her relief crash over him like a wave. "You're alive," she breathed. "You're actually alive." "Told you, different ending." She laughed through tears, pressing her forehead to his. "The drive's destroyed. We'll rebuild it together." Talia approached, her expression showing something like awe. "It worked. Your signature just broadcast across every timeline in the multiverse. Astronomical observatories everywhere are detecting it. Scientists, governments, civilians, everyone knows now. The Empire can't hide anymore." Through the viewport, Gary watched the Imperial fleet beginning to withdraw. Not retreating, but hesitating, confused. Their advantage built on lies and secrecy had just evaporated. Resistance ships pressed the attack, emboldened. "What happens now?" Gary asked. "Now? Now the real work begins." Talia smiled grimly. "You just started a revolution. Multiple revolutions, actually. Every timeline where the Empire has control is going to see uprisings. Every reality where people were told parallel universes don't exist now has undeniable proof. You changed everything." Gary looked at Sivara. She smiled, fierce and beautiful and exhausted. "We changed everything," he corrected. They evacuated the station before the Imperials regrouped. The Resistance fleet jumped to scattered safe zones, planning their next moves. Gary and Sivara transferred to a small ship Talia provided. No paradox drive, just standard faster-than-light engines, but enough to get them somewhere safe. Gary piloted while Sivara slept in the co-pilot seat, finally allowing herself rest. Through the neural link, he felt her dreams, memories of their time together, mixed with hopes for a future neither had dared imagine before. Dawn was breaking over a habitable moon when Sivara woke. Gary had set them down in a valley of purple grass and silver trees, far from civilization or conflict. She joined him outside the ship, and they watched the sun rise together. "So," she said quietly, "we're stranded in one timeline, no way to jump between realities. The Empire hunting us, the Resistance counting on us. What do we do?" Gary took her hand, their fingers interlacing naturally. "We start over, build a life here while the drive gets rebuilt, help the Resistance however we can, and we do it together, because apparently we're quantum-entangled for life." She laughed. "Could be worse. Could be better, too." "Could it?" She turned to face him, golden eyes catching the dawn light. "I've been running for so long I forgot what it's like to stop, to have someone to stop with, to have a future instead of just survival." Gary pulled her close, feeling her heartbeat through the neural link that would connect them forever. "We have a future. We earned it." He kissed her gently, "and I plan to enjoy every moment. Even when the Empire comes back, when the next crisis hits, when we're fighting impossible odds again." "Especially then," he smiled. "I stopped having a boring life when you crashed in my landing bay. I'm not complaining." Sivara kissed him back, deeper this time. All the passion and relief and love she'd carried across 8 timelines finally finding release. The neural link flared between them, amplifying sensation until the world narrowed to just this moment, this connection, this certainty. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, the sun had fully risen. A new day, a new beginning. In orbit above them, unseen but present, Gary's quantum signature still glowed faintly in the planet's background radiation. His name written in the stars, a beacon visible across infinite realities, proof that one person's choice to help a stranger could reshape the multiverse. Sivara leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered, "for helping a lost traveler, for breaking the pattern, for choosing to live instead of die." Gary held her closer. "Thank you for crashing, for showing me there are still things worth fighting for for making me remember who I was before I gave up. They stood there as dawn painted the valley in shades of amber and gold, two souls quantum-entangled across reality itself. The Empire would come again. The fight would continue, challenges would arise that seemed insurmountable. But they would face them together, bonded by more than love, bonded by quantum physics itself. His name in the stars, her hand in his, and a future they'd carved out of impossible odds through courage, ingenuity, and the simple choice to help when help was needed. The pattern was broken. The story was just beginning.